3, 2, 1.
Man, them jokers was big, size of a quarter, doggone. He said, kapooyah, kapooyah. And your boy, that hell just came in. I opened my door, and I looked out my door and started hitting me in my head. I took out running, ran to my restroom, and then I called my mama to see was she all right.
You're listening to a Fly Science Productions podcast. Welcome to Stream the Machine. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Stream the Machine. It is, it's a Saturday, I guess. Forget that we don't do this show on any other day other than Saturday. 4:26 is now 10:39 a.m. Tony DePalma is out today, so instead I have Mr. Ross Bays covering in. Ross, how are you feeling?
I am wonderful. It's Saturday. I'm happy. Cartoons are on in the background. I'm ready to do this.
Well, I'm glad you're able to help out. For those of you who don't know, and not that you would, I don't know why you would. And if you do, you're a creep. But Tony is out of town. Tony is out of town. A friend had a birthday, so he went to go help celebrate, and that's what good friends do. So that's where he's at, and I'm sure he's probably relishing the opportunity to sleep in today, unlike the rest of us who have to wake up and do a freaking show.
Got things to do.
Yeah. Shout out to my father. His birthday was yesterday.
Oh, nice.
I have no idea how old he is. I just know he's probably 50-something by now.
Okay.
I'm guessing. I don't. I'm thinking it's probably. I'm okay. I'm saying between 50 and 55. I think. Okay. You know what? Birthdays are not my strong point. I am not a fan of birthdays in general, but I cannot really remember family birthdays that well. Couldn't tell you how old my sister is, although I think one of my sisters is 17 years older than me. I think that's the number I decided on, was that it was 17. But even then I couldn't tell you which sister it was.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of technology. Just put it as an alarm in your phone and just leave it so you never have to think about it.
I should. I remember my father's birthday. I remember my mother's birthday, and that's probably only because they're all in the same month. I'm not going to tell anybody what my birthday is, but yes, it was or is in April. So that's the only reason I really remember that. But yeah, happy birthday to him. They went out and did some fun stuff last night, I think. Had a nice dinner. So, briefly wanted to mention, we are at 62 likes on the, my father just texted me, said he's 39. Yeah, nice try, Dad.
Yeah.
Not fooling anybody. So we have 62 likes on our Facebook page. So thank you, everybody, for helping out and liking the page and doing everything like that. We are trying to get to 100. And then after 100, we're going to shoot to, whatever the next number is.
A million.
Yes, that's going to definitely be step 2. So in order to help us get to higher than 62 likes, share the Facebook page with your friends. Send the site to them. Because if people hear it and they like it, then maybe they'll just go and, like the page by themselves. So once we get to 100, maybe we'll do something stupid on the show or something special. I don't know. Have some kind of giveaway or something.
Ooh.
Maybe we'll even do an extra episode that week or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Okay. Yes, 100 likes. We're shooting for that. Also wanted to bring up, we are going to be introducing, and I don't know 100% all the specifics yet, but we will be introducing what I am calling supplemental Stream the Machine content. Basically, okay, so we got to kind of start at square one here and describe this, because not a lot of people are going to know what a Let's Play is.
Yeah.
Okay, so a Let's Play is a title of basically this thing on YouTube that people are doing where they play a game, they record what they're playing, and oftentimes they'll also record commentary. So imagine that if this podcast was to a video of just a game, that would be a Let's Play, essentially. You just have people kind of commentating back and forth, talking about the game usually, and recording it and then throwing it up on YouTube or wherever they are so inclined to throw it up. We are planning on doing this for a game called DayZ.
Oh yeah.
Ross is a huge fan of DayZ.
Yeah.
He's actually the one that got me started.
Oh yeah.
Because I had purchased it before I moved to Virginia, but I didn't really know much about it. And okay, so I mean, you were a new player at once. It's difficult for a new player to get started in that if it's literally just downloading Arma or downloading the game.
Yep.
And then that's it.
Oh yeah, it's
because
not user friendly at all.
No, it's terrible. So Ross kind of eased me into things last year because he was a big fan of the game, and so that really helped. Anyways, DayZ is a zombie survival / horror game, basically where you play as a character who has to start from the ground up. There's you don't get any items when you start, or maybe you do, depending on the server, but you basically just kind of start fresh and then try to survive zombies and other threats in the world. And what we're going to do is it's going to be Ross, Tony, and myself. We're going to record this as we play, as we are commentating, and upload it, and it's going to be called Z the Machine. Basically, it's just going to be sort of like extra bonus content. So if you guys like hearing us talking Saturday and you're like, man, we don't get to hear enough else from you, we want to hear more from you.
Right.
Well, now you can watch us too, and even if you're not really a fan of video games in general, or even this particular game in general, you don't have to play it. You just have to watch and have fun. And what we're going to do is I'll probably take all the best parts of our adventures or whatever we do that week, if we decide to do a weekly content, and just upload it as is. So you'll get all the best parts, not all the boring in between of us not talking.
Chopping down trees.
Right, all the stuff that doesn't really need to be included. So that is coming up. So I'm excited for that.
Have a good time.
So I want to talk about our Twitter post for the show, because it really is. It really takes a lot of effort, surprisingly, for me to get those posts that I make on the Facebook page into the 140 characters. So I'm talking specifically about, like, on Fridays I'll post the, coming up on tomorrow's show, and I'll post it on Facebook, and I don't have a character limit, so I can kind of write whatever, right? Well, for the Twitter posts, I have to fit it in 140 characters. Mm-hmm. So I have to take those same bits of information, at least as much as I can,
right?
Throw them in the Twitter, and then try to crunch them down.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, from an advertising standpoint, not that because I don't really have a whole lot of experience in advertising, it is really shocking to see how much extra language that we have in some things.
Yeah. That
you can cut down and essentially get the same point across than what you have to do for something like advertising. I mean, because it's and like I said, I put in the notes here that it's a work of art, and that might be going a little overboard, but it's always a challenge for me, and it's a fun one. But because what I do is I will copy exactly what I post on Facebook. I will copy it onto the Twitter page, and then I will cut out any kind of meaningless words or anything that I can truncate in order to make it so that it fits in the Twitter post. Obviously I think I say like tune in at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 9 whatever. So I can cut that down to just 10:30 a.m. Eastern.
Right. Stuff
like that. But it was just yesterday was more of a difficult one because I wanted to include all the same points, but wasn't as easy because just the wording of everything. But we got there. So.
But Twitter's like the digital version of postcards now. I don't know if you've ever heard Jim Gaffigan's bit on postcards. It doesn't matter how educated you are. When you write a postcard, you just sound like a moron. You're like, this city's got big buildings. I like food. Bye. That's it.
I love Jim Gaffigan. He's hilarious. He was on. We just watched a lot of that 70s show again for the second time, and he's got a hilarious part on there. So you've got a note here, Ross, about doing CrossFit.
Yeah, we had done that first show and talked about, or the second show, whatever it was, we were talking about the Gladiator workout, and I had just started doing that kind of stuff, and like the following week, I had a guy at work approach me that does CrossFit all the time, and he said, "Hey, bro, why don't you come join us for CrossFit? You know, we just go to the gym and we hang out and just have a good time and just do the workout." And what I know about CrossFit is that it's terrifying. It's
Right.
just, you know, it's these big people doing these crazy things, and you can't keep up with them, but they're all just absolutely just monsters in the gym. And
Right.
I'm nervous. I don't want to embarrass myself, you know?
Right.
But so I decided, just for the sake of, you know, because I do like the motivational speaking thing to people, and I told him, I was like, yeah, I'd like to do that, but, and he's like, no, don't say anything else. You want to do it, you're coming with us. I'm like, man. So I went with him just so, because he made me to do it.
Right.
And by the third workout, I found myself walking into the gym, and I could not wait to get started. It doesn't feel like I mean, it feels like a workout. You definitely get a workout, but it's fun, it's quick, it's to the point, and I've seen huge results in 1 month.
Really? Wow, that's
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the girl who cuts my hair is big into CrossFit, I think. We talked about lifting at one point or another because I was talking to her about needing a gym to go to, and I can't remember which one she goes to, but is there like a CrossFit specific gym in Richmond or something?
There has to be.
I think there must be, because I was almost positive that she said she goes to like CrossFit America or CrossFit USA or something like that, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that was a whole sort of thing in its own. But
Yeah, all the CrossFit gyms are called boxes. So like you say, like, oh, there's a guy at my box that does this, and it's a really tight knit community, and it's not like it's competitive, but it's competitive within your own, you know, your own goals and things like that. So it's really, really cool.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm driving home from work the other day, and I've got 2 routes I can go. I've actually got 3, but I only elect to take 2 because I don't have an iPass. Or sorry, it's an iPass in Illinois. You would know it as the Easy Pass.
Oh, yeah.
And that basically would allow me to take tolls without having to change anything. And I hate carrying cash, so I try not to have any change on me if I don't have to either.
Yep.
So I don't take the toll road. So exit 3's out. But I do have those other 2. And they both are about the same, and they both lead back to Richmond. And really it just depends on, you know, how bored I get with one path that I can then go take the other, right?
Right.
I'm trying to get into, and this is leading to an overall topic, but I'm trying to get into the lane on my right. And it's one of those where it's like the exit lane is also the oncoming lane from people getting off that road. And then you've got like three lanes just going regular straight traffic anyways. So I'm in like the middle lane, and I have to cross the one lane and then get into the exit lane. I'm trying to do that with other cars who are also trying to get in that merge, and then other cars that are coming off of that, the interstate. And then basically, though, what I decided is there are plenty of opportunities for me to have just, power move, yank my wheel, and get right in there. But I am so self-conscious about messing with other drivers like that that I just was like, F it, and I took the normal way home because
Because you don't want to get shot?
Well, it's that, but I just don't even want that on my conscience. I don't even want to, I don't want to cut anybody off. I don't want to take the chance of doing something, that could even possibly... It just feels like, I called it aggressive driving.
Sure.
Anytime it's called aggressive driving, I would consider that to be dangerous in some way or another. And that's what I was worried about. I was like, it reminded me of actually living here in the city. I take so many extra roads because I just don't want to deal with shit sometimes, and I don't want to get in people's way or.
Oh, I hear you.
It feels like so much trouble, and I don't go out of my way all the time, so it's not like I'm just driving 20 minutes on my way so I can go get a burger or something. But it's
right.
I just noticed it's a constant thing that I am purposefully not choosing high volume areas or roads or, certain spots because I'm like, you know what? I would much rather drive the extra 10 or 15 minutes than possibly have the chance of being forced to shove myself in between 2 cars driving.
Yeah, it's not a good experience. And I can totally relate because I don't want to be the one holding up a whole line of cars. I don't want to be the one that looks confused in the middle of an intersection.
Right.
And like, I'm the guy that when I go to like a fast food restaurant, I'm like, there's 10 cars behind me. It's not my fault that I'm still sitting here.
Right.
But as soon as they give me the bag, you know, my wife's like, well, hey, check it, make sure you got everything. And I'm like, no, let's go. We're in the way.
We gotta move.
Yeah, I get it.
I have that thing with Rachel when we're crossing crosswalks or anything.
Yep.
I jog across no matter what I'm doing. Unless there's absolutely no cars in the area, we're in a parking lot and there's no cars trying to get across, you know, a crosswalk area. I will jog or kind of, you know, half run to get to where I need to be, because I'm just generally in a constant mode of, okay, what am I doing? Is it affecting somebody else too? You know, and like trying to make sure that I'm not, you know, there's so many people that walk across a crosswalk at, you know, half a mile an hour, and you're just like, all right, well, come on, because now you're opening the door for somebody else to come walking across.
Right.
It just, so, yeah, I don't know, but...
Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one, because I walk around thinking, who am I being a pain in the ass to right now?
Right, there's got to be somebody that hates me so bad for what I just did.
That's great.
Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah, Harry Potter. So Harry Potter like has swept the nation for the last however many years, and I just a couple of weeks ago saw the first Harry Potter movie. I haven't read any of the books. I don't know any of the characters. I know nothing. And my nephew,
completely fresh.
Oh yeah, my nephew who's 8 years old is a Harry Potter fan. He's kind of trying to read the books and stuff, and I went out and bought the whole DVD set of Harry Potter because I figured, well, I like this kind of stuff, you know, and it's apparently done pretty well. So if anything, I'll have a big DVD collection of Harry Potter movies, and we'll go from there. So I sat down and watched it with him, and he's trying to tell me stuff like, okay, well, here comes Dumbledore, and here comes this guy, and I'm like, hey, bro, spoiler alert, chill out, you're killing the movie, you know. And like he gets up to go pee or something, and I'm like, come on, man, I want to see what happens. Like I'm totally into it more than he is. But I loved it. I loved every second of it, and I promised him that I wouldn't watch the other ones without him. So
that's
now,
a very tough promise to keep now.
Oh yeah, and I don't think I can do it. I might have to just ask for forgiveness, you know?
Right.
So we'll see. It's pretty cool though.
I've only seen the first and the second, and I think the fourth, and then I watched the very last one because
you skipped.
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't care about Harry Potter. So it's enjoyable to me. I actually read the first 4 books, so I was on board for a little while.
Okay.
I stopped reading them because I think J.K. kind of irritated me when she came out with she was kind of coming out with one like every year or so. Yeah. And each one was kind of getting bigger than the next, and so the 5th one she like put it off a year, and I was so pissed because I was like, I just finished the 4th. Yeah. And so I had to wait, and I was like, forget it, not going back. So while that grudge is long gone, I just have lost complete interest in continuing the series. But
gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't see the ones in between because, like I said, I didn't really care too much. But they definitely are enjoyable. The last one's pretty intense, which I'm sure you're aware of because that's what everyone was talking about when it came out. Was
I have no idea. I know nothing.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Don't believe the hype. No,
just kidding. Great.
No, I'm kidding. If you're a fan, you're going to enjoy it all, I'm sure. Okay. So just recently, Peter Jackson, just this week, I think, or at least that's when it was reported. I don't know if it just happened this week, but he retitled the last Hobbit film. And I don't know how I feel about it 100% because I kind of liked what it was before, and I will present my case because I know there's a lot of people who actually think the new title is better. For those of you who do or don't know, the last Hobbit film, at least not the last one, it's in the last one that came out, but the last one that is to come out was going to be called The Hobbit, There and Back Again. Yeah. I don't know. I think it was a name of one of the sections of Tolkien's Hobbit book, or maybe one of the last chapters. I can't remember. But it's like a Tolkien thing. There and Back Again was something that was like a title that he had applied to something. I thought it was very you know, succinct and very, like, kind of final and kind of not aggressive in any way. It was just like, this is it. This is the story. There and back again. Like, loved it. Actually, our health segment came from that name. To health, really? To health and back again.
Okay.
Because I thought it was so freaking sweet. And he retitles it to The Battle of the Five Armies. And in my opinion, I feel like that's like the worst name change. I don't find it as interesting. Now, I listen to podcasts during the week. I've heard other people make cases for this. They think Battle of the Five Armies is more aggressive, sounds better. They think that that's our last freaking, Hobbit movie. Of course, we want Battle of the Five Armies. There and Back Again's too middle of the road. I don't think so. I thought There and Back Again was really cool, and I'm kind of bummed that it's now the Battle of the Five Armies. I feel like it's just,
I could kind of see it both ways, I guess. I mean, like, if I was going to sit and watch, like, or try to choose between a movie and it was There and Back Again or The Battle of the Five, I could see it. But I don't know the story.
Sure, definitely by itself. I think There and Back Again only works because it's part of a series. Part of a series of films. I feel like it's a good cap to the end of a story. Which, maybe it was like the last chapter title or something, and that would make sense. I don't know. But, I was kind of bummed because I really liked There and Back Again, and now it's called freaking Battle of the Five Stupid Armies. So I'm sure it'll
write him a strongly worded letter.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll still make ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah.
All right. In that case, we have some news.
This just in other news.
Alrighty. And other news is brought to you by
Z the Machine. Are you a fan of zombie survival games? Or maybe just a fan of listening to us talk? Then you can look forward to STM's new supplemental show, Z the Machine, where Ross, Tony, and Jake play DayZ from the ground up and compile highlights of each week's journey for your viewing pleasure. Like, stream the machine on Facebook and follow STM Podcast on Twitter to learn more.
Yeah, basically everything we just told you at the beginning of the show. Oh, and you know what? That reminds me. I wanted to play. So we had a sponsorship spot. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Sponsorship spot.
Nailed it.
Turn off our background music for this. This is important. This week on it's called The Morning Stream. It's a podcast I listen to just about every day. And I'm a big fan of what they do. They actually really inspired, kind of how this show works. And they had a sponsorship spot, or I had a sponsorship spot on there for our show, and I caught a clip of it, which is the clip of where he kind of reads what I sent in. I also wanted to use it as a good idea of, how sponsors work for this program, and you can see exactly how they're done on other shows. So here it is. He's basically announcing a segment, and then his co-host reads our bit that I sent in for us.
Celebrity Poop, brought to you by Stream the Machine, the Saturday morning podcast with Jake Mercer and Tony DePalma, where we talk about news, trivia, health, and all sorts of other things. Need your early Saturday morning talk show fix? Join us for the live show at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Check out streamthemachine.com to check up on previous episodes and find the link to the live stream, or follow STM Podcast on Twitter to find out when the show airs.
So there's our little segment.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought it was really neat. I was listening to it at work, and was one of those things where like, oh shit, that's me. Like it hadn't occurred to me.
And you've been listening to these guys for a while now, right?
Years.
Wow,
that's
really cool.
Probably maybe 2 or 3 now. I don't know if they've even been around for 3 years. However long they've been around has been about as long as I've been listening. I've been listening to this guy's stuff for a long time before that. I've actually been listening to his network of podcasts for probably, I'm almost 24 now, so probably close to 7 or 8 years that I've been listening to his podcast in general, because he has a film podcast. He had a World of Warcraft podcast I used to listen to the heck out of. That's how I actually discovered him, was he has the most popular World of Warcraft podcast, I think. And then they came out with the film one, and then they eventually came out with this one, and they've got a couple others, but I just listened to the film one and the daily morning show one now. So cool. There's that, and that's how you do it, folks. So send in your sponsors and
let us talk about you on the air.
Exactly. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting article here about Columbus Day, which I couldn't even tell you when that is because I just don't even follow Columbus or a lot of holidays. Minneapolis changes Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day.
What?
Yeah, so it says here, it's been debated for years, but now the city of Minneapolis has decided to change from celebrating Columbus Day to observing Indigenous Peoples Day instead. Columbus Day has been a federal holiday since 1937, though not all states observe it, including Alaska, Hawaii, Oregon, and South Dakota. The day has long been a hot button issue over whether it is offensive to the American Indian culture to credit Christopher Columbus for the discovery of America. On Friday, the Minneapolis City Council voted unanimously. My lips and tongue are all just I feel like I've been shot with a tranquilizer because
all that bacon.
Yeah, I guess. Well, bacon before the show, bad idea. Voted unanimously to approve the proposal to rename the day Indigenous Peoples Day. How do you feel about that name change? Just not even talking about the spirit of everything. How do you feel about the name?
Well, clearly it doesn't roll off the tongue.
No, obviously.
Indigenous Peoples Day. Man, that's wow.
I almost find that in a way weirdly more offensive. Just why couldn't we call it Native Americans Day or something? Or even they call it here American Indian Day, which I even think American Indian is a stupid name because Indian derives from the idea that you are from India. That's why they called them the Indians, was because we thought we had hit the West Indies.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Or so maybe not even India, sorry, from the West Indies. So the fact that we even call them American Indians, I think, is ridiculous. I think Native Americans is the one term. So I don't necessarily have a hot button on this hot spot on this issue, but it's one thing that's it still kind of irks me when people refer to them as Indians, and sometimes I'll slip up and call them that myself. But it's
right, because that's how we grew up. We weren't being derogatory. It's just that's what they were called.
Yeah. But no, it's one of those things that I think we kind of sweep under, and not necessarily what we teach, because you do learn about some of the horrors that that we did to them when we moved in. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm all for.
I wonder if it'll get to a point where kids are playing cowboys and the people that were here first. I don't know.
That's really funny. That'd be a great game.
Right.
So, yeah, it's interesting to me. I don't, part of me is cool, awesome, Indigenous Peoples Day, whatever. I mean,
right. They
deserve credit, I guess. But the other part of me is well, are we then diminishing everything that Columbus did? He also kind of discovered them. So that's kind of important too. Would we have moved over here had he not, sail a ship over to the Americas? So it's a weird thing that I feel it's almost going back in the other direction too. A little too far. Maybe not call it Columbus Day. Maybe call it frickin',
Explorers Day.
Right. Something that can maybe encompass both parties, but I don't know. I did think it was interesting. The title mostly was weird to me. Indigenous Peoples Day, which I guess technically could probably be used in any other country for anybody.
On any day, right.
Exactly, because... so it's not specific to America. Weird. Okay, so this... I'd be surprised if you hadn't heard about this one yet. SWAT team sent to Long Island home by man who lost at Call of Duty.
I did hear about this, but I didn't hear the details. What was the deal?
Apparently, I hate sensationalized journalism. Just jokes irritate me. Anyways, here we go. Apparently, sore losers don't just sulk and complain anymore. They send SWAT teams. The Long Island home, or a Long Island home, was raided on Tuesday after a man called 911 and reported that he had shot several members of his family and was going to continue to kill. It turns out that he was just upset because he had lost a video game, Call of Duty, and was attempting to get back at the 17-year-old who had beaten him. Losers pranking winners with SWAT teams is part of a new trend called swatting. First of all, it blows my mind that it's even a thing.
Yeah, I know. There's a term for it now.
Yeah. When they're playing video games, if they lose during the game, they try to get information on their opponent, said the Long Beach Police Chief Michael Tangney. If they do get the information, they call the police and identify themselves as the person and say they killed somebody so that police get this response. The culprit has not been identified at this time. I was trying to see if they updated. This story is actually a couple days old. Yeah, it says about 3 days. Kind of surprised they haven't found him yet. In this bizarre world of swatting, you get points for the helicopter. Okay, so they must have updated this article after I read it, because I don't remember any of this. You get points for the helicopter, for the police cars, for the SWAT team, for the type of entry. It's very sophisticated.
What?
Unfortunately, it's very dangerous. Yeah, they changed the article a little bit, because they talked about if they found the guy, how much it would cost. Because they said it cost over $100,000, essentially, for them to deploy all of these teams.
Yeah.
This article really doesn't... Maybe I read a different article initially. I don't know, because it talked about how they showed up and the guy was like, yeah, or, you know, the call, they said, I killed my brother and my mother, and I'm going to kill again. And so when they show up, the brother and the mother are there alive.
Wow.
And they were like, you know, WTF, what's happening here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so at the time, at least, of both of these articles that I apparently saw, they have not captured the dude, and I'm curious how that happens. How do you... Now, they said that he probably called from Skype because it wouldn't give you a direct number. But is there no way to trace that number? Is there no way to contact Microsoft and say, hey, who had control of this number at this time of day, at this point of whatever?
Right. Or, I mean, maybe the guy is so good that he's using, like, multiple proxies, you know, and going around to multiple countries. If he's that good, I don't know.
Well, and it said that he had figured out the guy's IP address and information from just playing Call of Duty. So I'm assuming it had to have been computer.
Yeah, this guy knows his stuff.
Because that would be really difficult to do, I think, on a console. But just shitheads, man. I can't stand sore losers. And people to, like, go through this and to think it's a joke. Maybe it's because I took law enforcement training, or like, sorry, I shouldn't say that, not training, but took like my degree was law enforcement for a time. Okay. So I was kind of like, you know, I tend to lean more on the side of don't F with the police.
Right.
Only because I think it's, you know, something out of respect. Police aren't always 100%. You see a lot of police brutality stuff, but at the same time, you know, you kind of got to respect the law. Otherwise, there's going to be, you know.
It's a hard job.
Right. So anyways, that aside, I don't even understand this. I would pound that guy to a pulp if I ever... Because that's so... Not only is it disrespectful, like I just said, but such a waste of resources. And these guys have to respond to that. You can't just call and say, right, I've killed someone, I'm going to kill again. And then have them be like, dude's probably just swatting us. Yeah,
they can't take a chance.
And it's such a bummer because who loses in this if they don't find that guy? I mean, even if they do, they still have lost because the other article mentioned that they would have to talk, or they would have to, you know, they might sue him, or not sue him, but he might get charged for, you know, paying for like how much money they had to expend for all of that with payroll and stuff. But you think some dude's going to be able to pay that? So like even then, he's just going to end up going to jail or something. Yeah,
the city picks it up, or the state, or whatever.
Just irritating.
The fact that it's a trend now is unreal.
Yeah, that's... it's just making me angry, so we're going to move on. Kansas man charged with first-degree murder wants to cover up murder tattoo before trial. So, hold on, I'm going to send this to you in Skype just so you can see the picture. This guy has a big tattoo of murder written on his neck.
What? Is that backwards so he can see it in the mirror?
Yeah, so he can see it in the mirror, I guess. A Kansas man who is about to go on trial for first-degree murder thinks that the murder tattoo he has on his neck might influence a jury, so he is hoping to have it covered up before he appears in court. Mr. Jeffrey Chapman has secured a licensed tattoo artist from Hayes who is willing to go to the jail, according to the motion filed by defense attorney. Mr. Chapman's tattoos are not relevant to any material facts, and Mr. Chapman asked for the court to exclude any mention of his tattoo at trial, and further to be allowed to cover them up in an appropriate manner. The fact that he has murder tattooed across his neck is irrelevant to the state's case, and extremely prejudicial to Mr. Chapman if introduced at trial or observed by the jury. Let's see here. Even though Chapman has lined up a professional tattoo artist to remove or cover up the ink on his neck, Sheriff Brian Bellendier is standing in the way. Bellendier points out that that Kansas Administrative Code blah 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 states Tattoo artists shall not practice in any location other than a licensed facility, and is also against transporting Chapman to an official tattoo parlor.
Cool. So stop him from doing it.
Yeah, well, he said he lined up a guy to come to the jail or the prison. He can't do that.
Right.
Apparently, that's against the law, and he's not going to let the guy leave because he's in jail. So there's no reason to let him leave. You know, it's it's one of those moments where you're like, sort of badass gone wrong. Like, you think it's badass to have murder written on your neck, and then all of a sudden you're charged with murder, and you're like, oh crap.
Like, haven't we learned yet that people with neck tattoos should just be steered clear of, you know, for the first couple minutes?
So funny. Oh, shoot, what else? I was going to say... So I always think...
teardrop.
Yeah. I was curious, though, if leaving the tattoo on wouldn't have been a better idea for him to say... to do it, you know, and then claim that the jury was swayed by his tattoo, which technically should not be, you know, it should not be admissible in court.
Yeah.
Not that I'm trying to game the system here.
Right, right.
Let's see. I'm going to skip one of our articles for time's sake and then jump onto this one here. Pennsylvania woman suspected of selling heroin out of her hospital room and ICU. Pennsylvania patient will likely be facing drug charges after police allegedly confiscated more than 350 stamp bags of heroin that she was in the process of selling from her hospital room. Greensburg City Police are expected to charge a woman that was being treated with, being treated at this hospital with delivery and possession of a controlled substance as of Tuesday. In addition to selling heroin from the ICU unit as well as her hospital room, the woman was allegedly injecting heroin into her IV system.
Wow.
The rest of it
entrepreneur thing going. That's...
Yeah, it says here that they noticed a large amount of people going in and out of the room for only a couple minutes at a time. When the heroin was seized, police also took 2 syringes, several cell phones, and $1,420 in cash. Now, when I saw that, I've never purchased heroin. I don't have any intention to. $1,400 is really all you're going to get for...
Yeah.
As much as she had in there, and claiming that there's a bunch of people, I would have thought maybe they're buying in smaller amounts, but it says she had stamp bags. I don't even know what the hell that is.
I have no idea.
I'm not a heroin user. Maybe that's common vernacular. No, I just kind of thought like, oh, really? So for $1,000 for $1,500, was it worth it?
Man,
It says she got a bunch of cell phones, so it looks like she's taking trades as well.
Oh man, she's like the GameStop of heroin.
Right. Interesting trades entertained. Really funny.
Wow.
All right. Well, that's it for our news. That brings us to. Let's see. Is it trivia? Man, it sure would be nice if I could remember my freaking segments. Oh shit. Where's my soundboard? Here it is.
Challenge accepted.
Alrighty, challenge accepted is brought to you by my father's birthday. His birthday was yesterday, and he's not 39 years old. Okay, so here's the trick. I have whoops, how am I supposed to do this? I am adding, here we go. I have about 30 seconds before he is going to notice on the stream that I am calling him. So here we go. Right now it's live. He's not going to have a clue. But
oh, man.
Once he gets up to the stream, he's going to be like, what? What are they saying? Pick up, Dad.
What? Yeah.
Is this Lyle Mercer?
Yeah.
You are on Stream the Machine.
Hey!
I'm just kidding. Hey, Dad, how you doing?
Good.
So happy birthday, at least for yesterday. Thought we would bring you in, and I'm actually going to have you do a little trivia with us. How does that sound?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so here we go. Basically, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Here's our theme: is text abbreviations. So I'm going to give you some letters. You're going to tell me what it means. It's basically like, you know, when people send text and they're like, oh, ILU means I love you or something like that. You're gonna tell me what you think it means. You have 2 opportunities that if you can't guess it, you can ask Ross, and Ross will help you out.
I'm here for you, buddy.
All right, thanks, Ross. I'm gonna need it.
Okay, so here we go. They start off a little easy. LOL is your first one.
Oh, laugh out loud.
That is correct. Second one is TTYL.
Talk to you later.
That is correct. Nice work. Third one is ROFL.
Rolling on the floor, laughing. Yeah.
Nice work. That was impressive. Okay, so here's where
I
they
just remember when you used to add things to it.
Yeah. So, okay, here we go. Fourth one is MYOB.
Mind your own business.
Nice work. I don't know if I would have known that one. Let's see, which one is fifth? IMHO.
In my humble opinion.
Dang, you are on a freaking roll. Okay, next one is IRL.
IRL? Wow. If I recall, would be something. I don't know, Ross, help me out.
I'm going to say in real life.
Do you accept his answer?
I accept his answer.
That is correct. Next one is IIRC.
Oh, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Nice work. JAS.
So help me out, Ross.
Ooh. No confidence in that.
I have no idea how that happened.
I can't even make something up.
Okay, just as soon.
Just a second.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever used that one.
Nope.
Okay, so you've got 2 left. These are kind of... I don't know if I've seen these before, so good luck. FWIW.
SWIW. Oh, how about
F
you,
is in
Ross?
Frank. So FWIW.
Oh, for what it's worth.
Dang.
Wow.
That was impressive. I don't think I knew that one or have ever used it. And then last one. This one's for all the money. NIMBY. So it's NIMBY is what it spells, but it's NIMBY.
Oh, I don't know, Ross. What do you think?
Not in my backyard.
Oh, I'll go with Ross's answer.
That was correct.
Boom!
How is that? I've never even heard of that one. What
Me
do you
neither.
even... I don't even know what kind of applicable use that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so then go ahead and stay on the line for a moment. Ross, you have trivia for me.
I do have trivia for you, and I tell you, I had to revamp it at the last second this morning because we started talking about the Nintendo, the original Nintendo.
Oh, good Lord.
And what it originally was for you to name the top 25 NES games of all time.
I never would have known that, ever.
So when you told me that you had a PlayStation 1, I had to go find a whole new list and revamp it. So here's the goal. The idea is for you to name the top 25 PlayStation 1 games ever.
Boy. Jeez,
Okay? But now here's what you got. You got 5 wrongs that are allowed. I'll give you 3 clues overall, and if you guess a title that includes a sequel, I'll give you both of those sequels.
Wow.
Oh, jeez. This is going to be rough. Okay. I guess I'm as ready as I will ever be.
All right.
Let's see. I'm going to say PlayStation 1. PlayStation 1. I guess I'm just going to... Final Fantasy 7.
All right. Final Fantasy 8 is on the list.
Okay.
Final Fantasy Tactics is on the list. And that is it for Final Fantasy. So
Really?
2 down. Yep.
Huh.
Oh, no, I take that back. There it is. Final Fantasy 7. You are right.
Okay, because as much as I like 8 more than 7, I would have been 100% sure 7 was on there. Any of the Crash Bandicoots?
Crash Bandicoot Warped is on there. And that is it.
Alrighty. PlayStation 1 top games of all time. Oh boy. This is going to get real tough. I don't know. I'm going to have to take... So, if I ask for a clue, then... Does that
Okay, I can give you a clue.
Okay.
All right. One of these, it's actually the #1 game on the entire list, is from a series that you ranted and raved about last week as one of your favorite series.
How could I forget this? It's Metal Gear Solid.
You got it.
Ah, I am a shame to the entire gaming culture.
I didn't want to say anything, but...
Good lord. Let's see, Metal Gear Solid. What other awesome games? I'm going to say Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo 2 is on there. And that's it.
Oh, boy. Okay, so how many have we guessed so far?
Let's see, you have... Well, you only have 18 left. Not bad.
Okay. Now, Dad, do you have any idea? Not that you know anything about games, but a PlayStation 1...
Oh, thank you.
No.
Well, I was wondering about WrestleMania. Didn't they come out with WrestleMania games then?
Oh, see, now, if we'd been talking about the NES, he would have been absolutely correct.
Huh.
Oh.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, Sonic wasn't PlayStation.
No,
right?
that was Sega.
Sega.
PlayStation... What else did I get? Let me say, is Wipeout on the list?
Wipeout XL is on the list.
Oh, what was that? What was? I'm trying to think of like a green guy thing.
You're thinking of, I think, Vector Man, and that was a Sega game.
Oh yeah. No, there was another one too. There was another thing I was thinking of.
The green guy.
I can't. Yeah.
This is a good one. This one really is stumping me. Let's do a second clue, I guess.
All right, second clue. Let's say. All right, 2 games on the list have been known to be competitive, but one of them is not Mortal Kombat.
Oh, shoot. Tekken.
Tekken 3 is on the list, as well as its competition, which would be...
I would have guessed Street Fighter, but Street Fighter I thought was...
Street Fighter Alpha 3.
Really? Okay, so I wasn't even... Dang. Okay, so not more. These are good hints, by the way. They're not too obvious, but they're helpful. Oh boy. I don't even know. I'm trying to think. Damn, I might have to go for a third hint already. I might have to give up because I can't. Nothing's coming to mind at the moment.
All right. Are you a football fan?
Should I have said Madden?
Oh yeah.
Well, no wait. That was my fault for being an idiot. What about? Okay, so if we're gonna go with Madden, can I say NBA? Is there a basketball game on there?
There is not a basketball game, but there are several driving games.
I would have guessed Ridge Racer.
Ridge Racer 4.
Need for Speed.
No, I'm sorry, that's not on the list.
Probably comes later. Do you have any other guesses, Dad?
Well, we had Road Rash, but that probably wasn't that popular.
See, now these games are not on this list, but I'm really impressed with his gaming knowledge already.
Well, because Road Rash, he played the crap out of that. Anything with motorcycles allowed you to beat the crap out of your fellow drivers. What else?
Oh, speaking of beating the crap, what was that? That one where you would drive around and shoot people.
Oh, Grand Theft Auto. Is that it?
I will accept Driver, which was the precursor to the Grand Theft Auto.
Nice work. I never would have guessed that because I didn't play Grand Theft Auto when I was young.
All right, so we've got 13 left, and I'll give you a clue for each one. We'll see if you can get it.
Okay.
All right, here we go. One of the most famous series of all time for first-person shooters started off at the exact same time as Battlefield 1942. Not Call of Duty.
Sorry, what was the clue again?
First-person shooter.
Okay.
Started off around the same time as Battlefield 1942.
And isn't Call of Duty.
It is not Call of Duty.
Can I ask if it's still a common thing today?
It is absolutely a common thing today.
If it's not Call of Duty, and it's not Battlefield.
Allied Assault, Pacific Assault, Frontline.
Mech Warrior? That's not it, is it?
No.
No.
Medal of Honor.
Medal of Honor. Ugh. Yeah, you know what? Medal of Honor, I'll say I remember renting it. Don't remember anything about that or playing any other games. So, that was rough.
All right, I'm going to give you one more, because the rest of them, I don't even know if I could give you clues for them.
Okay.
All right, last one, sports game. This guy was huge when we were kids. Mainly in the beginning, got his attention from wearing pink helmet, pink shirt, and he could twist a whole bunch in the top of that pipe.
I'm guessing Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, that is correct.
I had that one too. That was, yeah. What are the ones that we haven't guessed yet?
All right, so here's what we have left. Tenchu Stealth Assassins.
Oh, I owned that one too.
Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo.
No idea.
Lunar, Silver Star Story Complete.
Nope, no idea.
And I know you'll know this one. Siphon Filter.
That was on. Okay, so that falls in with Tenchu games I had, but I was like, oh, these probably aren't top whatever games. That's damn it. I should have guessed anyways.
Grandia.
Okay, I've heard of it. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed. I've never played them.
Parappa the Rapper.
Oh boy, I never played that one either, but I'm fairly familiar with it.
Silent Hill.
Huh? Wouldn't have thought. Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Resident Evil 2.
How did I not guess Resident Evil?
Yeah.
I'm a moron. I did really bad. For being a freaking game fanatic, my job today was very poor.
That's a hard one. All right, the last three are Ape Escape, Vagrant Story, and Castlevania.
Probably would have got raked over the coals for Castlevania too. I never played Castlevania, so was never on board with that series. Well, crazy. That sucks. Thanks for helping out with one of them, Dad, out of 25.
Hey, no problem.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on for the trivia segment, man. I'm gonna cut you loose.
Happy 39th.
Okay.
Yeah, happy 39th
Thanks for having
birthday.
me.
No problem.
Yeah.
I'd see ya.
And he's gone. Okay, so damn, I got screwed.
And that was brutal. I actually feel bad now.
No, you know what? I like learning. I don't know. It's hopefully we got a lot of interaction from people at home trying to sit there and think too. So then that brings us to let me see. That's our first break. Cool. Okay, so I have got some good songs this week. Let me pull this up. Okay, so I'm reaching out because we're still having a hard time getting people to suggest stuff for the show, to send stuff in, because we're not very big. So telling people, hey, send your music in doesn't always reach as far as we'd like. So I reached out to a couple of people from back home and said, hey, can I play your music on the show? I'll, introduce all your stuff. And they said, sure, why not? So our first song is from a band called Dirt Wizard. They're actually a local band from back in Peoria.
Nice.
Or approximately around the surrounding areas. And I don't know what... the two songs I've got today, Peoria is very well known, and the surrounding areas are very well known for their sort of like 80s, 90s metal influence.
Nice.
Not, like heavy screaming sort of, which can all be good, but this is the stuff I've got today is going to sound a little bit more like your 80s, 90s metal. But really cool. I actually really enjoy this song. Unfortunately, I think they just released an album. It's actually free up on Bandcamp if you look for Dirt Wizard. You can donate. But they do also have it for free as well. So their song, "Season of the Sun," from their EP rather, "No Son of Mine." This is Dirt Wizard. and we will see you guys on the other side.
My husband got a phone call in a real graspy voice over the phone saying, check your mailbox. And referring to wiener poopy, my gosh.
You are listening to a Fly Science Productions podcast.
I had to hold myself back to not laugh at that. That is, that clip. I found it this morning. It was, oh gee, some woman had her Jesus statue stolen from her front yard, and someone left a message that said, if you, I can't even say it without laughing, said if you don't clean up your wiener poopy, because she had wiener dogs, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And it was just a bunch of people trolling her because they kept saying, your wieners keep leaving poopies on the floor. It's so...
And referring to wiener poopy, my gosh.
Oh my god, I can't even do it. It's so funny. Whew. Okay, so yeah, I actually really enjoy that song. As much as I usually don't care about you know, sort of, I tell this to everyone because everyone's like, oh dude, AC/DC, Ozzy Osbourne, they're all talking about like 80s, you know, stuff like that, and early 90s metal, and I can't stand a lot of it. Love that song.
Yeah, I was never much of an AC/DC fan, or I mean, even a Metallica fan. I know that bothers a lot of people, but I just never got into that boat.
Neither did I. And I wouldn't even compare that, you know, Dirt Wizard, the song that I heard at least, I wouldn't even compare it to AC/DC or anything like that. It's definitely from a different sort of genre, but it does have that retro feel to it with a bit of a modern twist to everything. So
yeah, good stuff.
Definitely nice. So then that brings us to health. Here we go.
To health and back again.
And indeed, we are back again from not doing a health segment last week. A little bit of a revamp. We're going to try a new format for this segment at the moment. I have a good friend. I say good friend, but, you know, people kind of say that about anybody. It's a friend I know, girl I used to live next to when I was growing up. Her name's Jessica Wilson. She delves in a lot of nutrition and health, and, you know, has her own Facebook page that she runs that, you know, talks about this kind of information. And I think she just got a job working either as like an EMT or something. Nice. Wow. Working at a hospital of some sort for some reason or another. I don't think she's a nurse though. Anyways, she sent us in a topic this week because usually she works Saturday morning, so unfortunately we can't get her on the show. But she sent us in stuff to talk about, and that's what we're going to do, is talk about it. This week's topic is alcohol and its effects on workout performance. Now, I don't work out, so I unfortunately, and I'm assuming that you're going to be in the same boat here, in that you don't take alcohol and then go work out anywhere.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that I pound a bottle of vodka and then go do some push-ups.
Right. Yeah, so, I mean, you might have alcohol and then you also might work out, but I'm assuming they're generally not close enough to where it's right before, which is what's interesting about this information, is that a lot of it almost seemed to be like banking on the fact that some people actually do this. Wow. But so it's really going to be talking about for people who drink a lot of alcohol, or at least, you know, every day, I would assume. Because the first thing it wants to point out is that alcohol is not a nutrient whatsoever. So when you drink alcohol, it gets taken in straight as fat. Like when it sort of converts to whatever it needs to do, it gets stored directly as fat rather than being stored in any kind of energy form into the muscles, which is what I assume anything else that, you know, and basically other things that aren't going to be that have any kind of nutritional value to them. Yeah. Do. So, you know, if you eat pasta or you eat something like that, it's going to be stored as carbs. Yeah. Stored as something that you can burn to use for energy. When you drink alcohol, it's just going straight in as fat.
Wow. So that's just, I mean, that's alcohol, not just beer or, I mean, it's alcohol.
Alcohol. So, yes, beer included. Anything, I mean, you know, we talk about beer guts. That's what that is. Oh, yeah. People are not putting on, you know, when people put on weight, oftentimes is sort of like in a general weight putting on, you know, like their arms might get a little bigger, You know, like other areas kind of get bigger. When you drink a lot of alcohol, you're getting that. That's why they call it the beer gut, because it's literally just packing on into your stomach.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yes, it definitely turns you off from ever really wanting to drink a lot of alcohol.
Right.
I don't drink that much alcohol because A, it's super expensive, and B, I play a lot of games that tend to be sort of thought intensive, and so I can't function if, you know, I've even like with a small buzz, I can't enjoy my games, or I can't watch a movie and really enjoy it. So I don't drink that much, but the effect alcohol has on the liver can cause a shortage of oxygen as well, which inhibits the production of ATP. Which, do you remember what ATP stands for, Ross, from your high school days?
A transient person. No, that can't be right.
Nah, and I'm pretty sure. Let me see. I'm gonna guess, and I'm gonna look it up. I think it's adenosine triphosphate.
You learned that in high school?
Yeah, ATP. Yes, it is. It is adenosine triphosphate. So take one for me.
You earned that.
So yeah, basically that's like pure energy. That's what ATP is. It's just energy. It gets used to burn in your muscles. So not only are you're drinking the alcohol, it's getting stored straight as fat. So it's not getting burned even if you go to do a workout, because you're burning, you know, your carbs and everything else first. It's actually could be inhibiting your actual energy source for repairing muscles, or even, you know, giving you that energy to work out, because it could be reducing your ATP production.
So you're just getting lackadaisical and tired and lethargic.
Right, which, you know, a lot of people will be like, well, that sounds like alcohol, all right, to me. You know, it's
yeah.
But when you break it, people don't realize it until they break it down, you know, how kind of crazy it gets. It says studies have shown that alcohol can inhibit the circulation of glucose, which the body uses for energy. It can also affect the pancreas, halting the flow of key nutrients in the bloodstream. So now we get beer guts, we get short of oxygen, which inhibit ATP, not helping with energy for working out. Now we're to a point of where it can really impact negatively the circulation of glucose, which also is used for an energy source for the body. On top of that, halting the flow of key nutrients into the bloodstream. This all just sounds like a bad idea to be, like, you know, depending on your workout. Now,
or period. Like, you read this stuff and think, why would I put this into my body at all?
Yeah, are the psychological, you know, the I guess physiological, I don't even know, physio-psychological? Something in there about psychological in the mind. I guess those effects, you know, are they really worth it to be doing these kind of things? And like I said, it really is to a point where you're wondering, why am I having this at all? Because if you work out every day, and let's even say that you have a couple drinks every night, that's really
counterproductive.
Yeah, it's really ruining. And you thinking to yourself, oh, I only have a couple drinks, and I work out every day, so it doesn't matter. You know, I'm like building that up. Well, sure, you're making some progress, but, you know, like, there's so much progress you're not making because of, you know, this intake. Alcohol can lead to dehydration, which can prolong muscle recovery. That's, I don't want to say a no-brainer, but that's pretty general. They talk about alcohol being dehydrating. And muscle recovery is very important. If your muscles aren't recovering correctly, I'm trying to think of what they call it. Is it overtraining? When you start to lift too much that you actually start to get negative progress.
Diminishing returns?
Yeah, that's true too. I actually got to this point once in high school, where I was trying to pound on so much, because I was doing arms every day instead of arms, legs.
Yep.
You get to a point where you actually can't lift as much because you keep ripping the muscles that are trying to repair.
Right.
And it's actually, you're going backwards now, because they're ripping and then they can't repair, and then they rip more and then they can't repair. So a lot of people are in danger of that to begin with. Tack on alcohol and good luck, buddy. It's like I would.
It's not gonna work.
Yeah, I'd be surprised to see what your motivation is to even continue going if you're not seeing any kind of result. Alcohol can negatively affect protein synthesis, which is necessary for muscles to rebuild and grow after a workout. That actually kind of is hand in hand with muscle recovery. if you don't have protein synthesis, good Lord, words that Jake cannot say. It's going to be a new segment.
For next week.
Right. We will include everything that I've read today. Yeah, so that's all really important for rebuilding those muscles, because I don't think a lot of people realize that, is how I keep using the word important, but how integral that resting process is to rebuilding yourself, to hitting that point of, okay, now we're back, because it's almost like, what am I trying to compare it to? Because you basically, your body repairs to the point of where it was before, and then just a little bit more.
Yep.
And that's what building muscle is every time you chip away a little bit of all of it, and then it grows back, and then just a little bit more, and then if you keep doing that, eventually you're going to be so much higher above what you originally were. Let's see. These next two kind of fall hand in hand. Alcohol lingers in the blood, meaning that even after a good night's sleep, it's still present. Hear a lot of dumb people, a lot of dumb young adults talk about this, where not even in reference to lifting, and I stand by my choice to call them dumb young adults, because I can't tell you how many times people have gotten drunk and say, I'll just pee it out, man, I'm good, I'll eat a few crackers, or some stupid shit like that, and you're like, bro, that is not how it works. It is in there, like, that you can't get it out. Once you have it, you're good. Like, you may actually get rid of the product, right, but it's still in your bloodstream. Like, it's not, you're not drunk because it's sitting in your stomach. You're drunk because what's in the alcohol has reached your head, and it's too late at that point. Alcohol often prevents us from reaching the REM cycle of sleep, and a constant lack of REM sleep can lead to anxiety and other undesired psychological effects. I tried to find a definitive answer as to why they call it necessarily the like your recovery portion of sleeping, because that's what they, when I say they, I mean general articles I was reading. REM is generally considered to be your regenerative cycle. When you hit REM sleep, that's what makes you feel rested up the next day.
Yeah.
If you wake up, and you're feeling tired constantly, you may not be hitting that REM cycle of sleep, and that's what's causing those issues. So as you can see here, it talks about alcohol often prevents us from being able to hit the REM cycle, which means you're constantly, or more likely to after drinking alcohol, to wake up not feeling refreshed.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I don't know how many times, like, I'm not a big drinker, but the times that I have drank, you can almost, like, remember, I drank that night, and then I went to sleep, and then it was like I would sleep for a bit and then wake up, sleep for a bit and wake up, and it's almost like you can visualize you're starting to get to that point of REM sleep, and then you wake up out of it, and then it just goes back, and you repeat the cycle all night long. Awful.
It is awful. So it's terrible for actually trying to get those restorative properties, in a sense of feeling refreshed for the next day, so you can have a good workout or anything else like that. Last bullet point here: small portions of alcohol can increase. So this is actually a good thing. We had all these negative things. They did mention that your occasional beer, your occasional sip of wine, or even, they said even like a shot of vodka. They talked about, I think, even a shot of vodka a little bit before a workout was not seen as detrimental. It was people, and they did mention in the article that the testing size was sort of small because not a lot of people were agreeing to drinking alcohol and going to the gym. Wise for those people.
Yeah.
But, still a sort of, I guess, important study in its own right, but you just got to be safe. Anyways, so this is a good thing. Small portions of alcohol can help increase good cholesterol and reduce insulin resistance to protect the heart. Now, I had to look up insulin resistance. Basically, your body can develop a resistance to the detection of insulin, and that is how diabetes is. That's how one form of diabetes is onset. You have there's one form of diabetes where your body, let me think, it doesn't produce enough insulin, so basically you're not producing it. You need a pump to help get insulin in your body. The second kind, which is what this is referring to, is when your body builds up a resistance to insulin, and then it keeps pumping out more because it thinks it needs more, and it actually doesn't. So alcohol can actually help reduce that resistance. So, you know, it's semi-preventative.
So this is the point where people read this, they hear this and say, oh, so small amounts of alcohol are good. I guess large amounts would be better.
Yes, we do not condone any kind of anything bad.
It's for my insulin.
So yeah, and lessening stress. So basically, you know, you could say, do we really need a whole segment to talk about this? But alcohol can be all right in moderation, just as with anything.
Right.
Just don't, you know, just don't do it before working out or even after. Or even, you know, if you're going to the gym constantly, you know, and you've got a weekend that's sort of your off day, or you don't go on Saturday, Sunday, or something like that, save your drink until then or something. But you know, even and it said even a little like before the workouts was not causing a problem. It was people who were actually going out for like a good drinking time every night. Maybe not even necessarily getting drunk, but going and having more than just one drink.
Yep.
That's what's causing these issues. That's not helping the case for people trying to, you know, bulk up. Alrighty, well then that leads us to Karmified.
We are the movement that is taking matters into our own hands to instill change in the world, simply by being the change we want to see. It's not about money, politics, or religion. It's about us. Join the groundbreaking movement at karmified.com.
Alright, so we actually have Ross already on the call today, so we don't need to call you in. You have something different for us this week, at least a little bit, from what I can tell.
Yeah, you know, every week or whenever we get everybody together, it's a matter of, like, I like to get people to think a little bit more about what their life looks like and maybe who they're trying to be and things like that. And this was something that came up on Facebook not too long ago, where people were posting these just random facts about themselves. And then if you commented on someone's facts or random facts or whatever, they would give you a number, and then you would have to do the same thing on your Facebook page with that number of facts. So I thought this was interesting because I got a lot of feedback on mine, and it made me kind of think about, well, one, you know, what kind of stuff am I going to put on there? And two, what is it saying about me of what I'm putting out into the open? So I thought this would be interesting. You know, like, you don't know what my 10 are, and I don't know what your 10 are, and I'm sure that the listeners will... I can almost guarantee nobody listening is going to know most of these points between the two of us. So it'll be a way to kind of learn about each other.
No, absolutely. And like I said, hopefully we had a little trouble trying to sync up and figure out exactly what we were grabbing, but I think we finally got to a good middle ground. So
yeah, so like for instance, the first one for me, real simple, real straightforward, but just I thought was kind of interesting was that, like, my home has not had cable TV in over 3 years.
Okay.
You know, I used to sit on the couch and watch TV, and I would DVR everything that I wanted to see, and then you find yourself getting caught on for multiple hours, and we finally got rid of it, and I've lived on Netflix ever since and never looked back.
And it's sort of a similar thing for Rachel and I. She actually kind of tried to lobby for cable last year, and I was just like, nah. I mean, we've got Netflix, we have this, we have, you know, your friend Jackie's allowing us to borrow Comcast. I
nice.
mean, like, what more at that point do we need that actually plays on television? So, yeah, I can understand that, and especially for the, you know, it's a cost thing too. It's like, well, I can find my entertainment, you know, for much cheaper from Netflix.
Yep.
And watch that for 5 hours than I can for paying, you know, for the other thing. First one of mine is I actually try to avoid movie trailers, even for movies I want to watch. Like, on any movie that's coming out. Spider-Man 2, I am stoked for. Have not seen a single trailer for it.
Huh.
I do not like watching trailers anymore because I have just... There's been a few times where I just kind of was let down by what I thought the trailer was going to provide. And it kind of made me think. I thought to myself, this is going to be a 2.5 hour movie. They are trying to show me all the parts that are going to get me interested.
Yeah.
It's I understand that in this model of business that we have to do that thing for a movie, but it's almost kind of disingenuous to the movie itself. I would much rather want to see a movie completely fresh, not really having any idea what it's about other than its title, and maybe have an idea what it's going to be like. I do that a lot on Netflix, actually. I'll go on Netflix, I'll pick a random movie that I think, this might be all right. I won't read too much into it, won't look into reviews or anything. I'll click it and I'll watch it. And I'll try to decide what I think about it later. I don't like watching trailers. I will for games. I tend to do that, but if I don't have to, I really try to not watch them for movies because it just doesn't.
I could see that.
I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to me anymore.
Yeah, I like knowing nothing going in. I like someone told me once one time, "Hey, you got to see this movie. It's about." And I was like, "Hold on. If it's worth seeing, don't tell me anything. I don't want to know if it's a romantic comedy or if it's a horror or if there's a female as the heroine. I don't want to know anything. I just want to see where it takes me."
Yeah, that's just the thing. Is it's too much chance for it to sort of mislead, even if that's not the intention. It's just bound to happen when you're taking a 2-hour movie and cutting it down to 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, let's see. For me, I dated a girl before I married my wife. That was, I don't know if you've ever heard the term muse. I'm sure you have.
Yes, I have, actually. Being
a musician. But she was such a muse to me that in the year that we dated, I wrote 174 songs.
That's insane.
Yeah, and I think maybe 130 of them were all about her. Yeah, completely obnoxious. Yeah,
that's impressive from someone who hasn't written a song in probably about a year now.
Yeah, I don't even know how long it's been for me.
Wow, that's so. I don't think I've ever really experienced that. Not that I really need to, because a muse can technically. Does a muse always have to be a female or a person? Can it be other?
Oh, I don't know. It's a good question.
Because you mostly hear about it in a musician sense.
Yeah.
I remember hearing Dave Navarro talk in his talk show about a muse that he had. It definitely is sort of an interesting term to think of it that way, because it's, I don't know, it's a fascination about, that particular person, or maybe, like I said, I don't even know if it can be an object or not.
I don't know. Might have to look that up later.
But, it's interesting to me. I've never experienced that. I did, so number 2 for me, I did, this is kind of a cop-out, I guess. You may already know this. I did martial arts for about 10 years. I got my black belt when I was about 16 or 17, I think. And the physical test was about, I think it was 8 hours, and it might have been a little bit more. It's not really something I talk about anymore because I don't do martial arts. Often something that no one believes me when I say it. They're like, "You're a black belt?" Because I think they expect, I don't know if they expect me to say more about it or if they expect me to be kicking a little more ass when I'm at work. I don't understand.
Right. Or you cut your bread with your hand or something. Right.
Yeah, but no, it's it's something that.
So what was the I don't know what the word is, but was it Taekwondo? Was it karate or?
Yeah, I mean technically karate or karate. What would I call it? It's not an offshoot. The version of the style was from Shuri-ryu.
Okay.
Which I believe, this is where I'm going to get real bad. I believe could have been a city in Japan. If anything, it was definitely the style. It's sort of that particular brand of that karate. I often call it martial arts because a lot of people think karate is a general thing. It's not. That's karate is that particular style. Karate is not Taekwondo, which is not Bagua, or which is not Aikido, or Jiu-Jitsu. There's those are all those things, but karate seems to be the popular one, so people hear it as, so I usually just end up saying martial arts. But it was Shuri-ryu karate was the particular style I did.
Good deal. That's pretty good. All right, let's see. About 10 years ago, I had this big heart-to-heart with my wife when we were first married, and I told her that I didn't want to be a gun guy for the rest of my life because I didn't care about it. I don't really like guns. Like how I ended up teaching weapons to the Navy to begin with was just because I came out of the Marine Corps, but I didn't want to make the rest of my life as a gun guy.
Right.
And 2 days later, go figure, 2 days later, I was hired by the Department of Defense to teach weapons, and I'm still there 10 years later, and I absolutely love it and wouldn't change a thing. Yeah, really ironic.
So you say that you're not a Marine anymore. You have no kind of like active like enlistment, correct?
Nope, nothing.
But you work for the quote unquote the Department of Defense.
Correct.
Government. Okay, I was trying to figure out how to explain that, because I was like, well, wait, so he does this, but that sounds kind of like a military thing, but he's not military, so how does he? But no, so
yeah,
really interesting. So did they seek you out then and say, hey, we heard this guy was good with guns?
No, I actually applied for a position somewhere else, and they got my resume and sent it to the bigwigs, and they were like, "Oh, buh buh buh," with the little pipes and ascots and Merlot.
That's how everybody is like.
Exactly. So they called me, and I went in for an interview, and it was history from there. And I was the youngest dude that was there. I had the lowest clearance, but they said, "Hey, we like your resume, we like the way you present yourself, and here you go, come on in." And that whole story, in and of itself, is a whole story for another time. But yeah, it was really ironic how that happened. And I thought, well, it's more money, it's more prestige. I'm going to take this chance, and I'll just work on finding what I want to do. And here I am 10 years later. I still do it, and I love it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting that would be something that you specifically, thought you didn't want to do.
Right.
Ends up working out all right for you.
Yeah.
My third one is I don't actually listen to music that often. Hardly ever. As much as a music fan I am, I cannot remember the last time that I actively put a song on my iPod or in my car and listened to it.
Really?
It kind of goes into my next one. But I listen to podcasts mostly. So you know what? No, I'm going to have to combine these, unfortunately, because these two are actually really similar. So my number 4, I actually listen. So every day I listen to that morning show, but that only lasts for about an hour and a half, and I work 8 hours at a job where I can listen to something all day. And since I don't listen to music, I actually listen to the film podcast that same guy runs in his little network. So the two guys that do the morning show do a film show with 2 other dudes every week. Well, they've been doing it for years now, and what I do is I actually start with number 1 and listen all the way up to the current ones, and then I restart. I've probably been through all 200 episodes 3 or 4 times now.
Wow. That's commitment.
They're all about 100. Whew, those would be long-ass shows. They're all about an hour to an hour and a half, usually around the hour and a half mark. It's one of those things that I enjoy their talking and everything so much that it does not get old for me.
Gotcha.
Like the jokes, like everything is still funny the 5th time I've heard it, because it's it's just, I don't know, it's so entertaining to me. And by the time I've been through, it'll take me a month, maybe more, to go through 200 episodes. I can go back and listen to the first one again and feel like it's fresh, because I've heard 199 episodes since that one to wash it out. But yeah, I don't listen to music that often. Occasionally I will get in a kick and I want to listen to something, and I'll listen to 9 Inch Nails' new album or something for a couple weeks, but that'll be it. And I'll go back to podcasts.
I might have to look into some podcasts then. I'm getting sick of all my music, so yeah. All right, let's see. My 4th one, ever since I was about 6, I have been absolutely obsessed with becoming famous. And whether it was as a musician or an actor or an author or a speaker of some type, it's always in the back of my mind. Still to this day, I think, how can I get famous? Right. Yeah, I'm always thinking about it, yeah.
Well, this is a good way to start. Hopefully, if we get big enough, we'll take over for... oh, God, what's his name? I can't even think of his name. Stephen Colbert. Good Lord.
What's that guy's name?
That guy that just took... Oh, jeez. Yeah, we're on the way to start, though.
Right.
No, it's interesting. I mean, I've had similar aspirations, kind of. I mean, geez, I'm interested in music, film, and obviously now sort of a thing in radio, like at least with podcasting. Like, yeah, it definitely kind of takes an interesting turn when those are your focuses.
Yeah.
So then that puts. So now I'm back in first because I'm reading my number 5th one.
Yep.
The Matrix is my. Well, debatedly, I will explain in a moment, but generally I would consider The Matrix to be my most favorite film I've ever seen.
Okay.
As a kid, I thought it was 100% perfect, amazing, just thought the slow motion, the action, all this other kind of stuff, didn't really, I thought, oh yeah, sure, it's got good philosophy, but I didn't really, tap into a lot of it because I was young. And then I watched it in 2012, and I actually have decided that the philosophy parts of that film are so much better than I ever realized. And the last about half hour sucks worse than anything I ever knew. Because it goes so good on, like, presenting philosophical ideas and presenting them in such an interesting and profound and educational way. And then it just, as soon as they're like, we need to get Morpheus back, it kicks right into action film, and it's the action itself isn't bad. It's just going from what it was to an action film is such a huge drop off.
Yeah.
That I still consider The Matrix probably to be my favorite film of all time, because if you take that first 75%, amazing, still better than anything I've ever seen. But now that I finally have seen that last part, like critically, kind of a bummer. I don't know if I
watch The Matrix again now.
I would be careful, because if you thought highly of it and you try to watch it with a critical eye, you'll be so impressed by the first parts that the last part will feel like you'll be like, how could you go from being amazing? Sorry, this isn't a film review podcast, but
now that you mention it, I can actually see the point that you're talking about, but I've never looked at it from a philosophical point of view. That's interesting.
And see, neither had I. I'd always heard about this. People were like, oh yeah, the Matrix sequels suck. And I'm like, are you kidding me? They're awesome. I love them all. But when you think about it, it's because that first film was so good about the philosophy part. Anyways, The Matrix generally is, I usually consider that to be my favorite, which may or may not have surprised anybody. I don't know.
Okay. The fact that it's philosophical is what surprised me the most, so I'll give you that. Let's see. All right, so one of my all-time favorite things in the entire world for the last who knows how many years is nostalgia.
Okay.
And I at least once or twice a week, I will go to eBay and I will start browsing things that I had as a kid. And sometimes I buy them. Like I literally will search for like the He-Man action figures or G.I. Joe, any of that stuff that I had as a kid. And I will save this big, pictured list of all the toys that I had as a kid, just because I want to see it. And then when I see it, it's almost like I can feel it in my hands.
Right.
And it brings me back to being a kid again and being in my room and listening to Guns N' Roses and, playing with all this stuff. And still to this day, I do this stuff. I buy stuff sometimes, but I just recently, most people never got into this, but there was a point where I started watching the, not WWF, the other one, but WCW.
Yes.
And I really got into that when I was about 11 or 12. And at one point, I had this big trading card collection of all the WCW guys. Mm-hmm. So just recently, I acquired the whole collection again.
Wow.
And I have a little binder, and I'll sit there and drink cocoa and look at my WCW cards. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I tend to get big feelings of nostalgia when I think about high school. That's really about it. When I think about, like, the inside jokes I had with my friends or something like that.
That is a great time in our life.
It was. I will say, though, it can be slightly depressing, because then you start to think like those days aren't coming back, and it's not that you don't necessarily want those days to come back so much as it is you're just never going to relive that particular time. It gets very sort of meta philosophical as far as, like, taking into account. Yeah. So anyways, it gets deeper and darker than that. But yeah, so high school does that for me. When I think about, a test or a certain person that I hung out with, that's where I get the biggest feeling of nostalgia from. Not necessarily from, like a toy where that, that works for you. As for me, is it's like those particular people.
Yeah.
Mostly the jokes, though. It's like just thinking about the stupid things one of my friends would do or something, or the movie he would quote.
Yeah.
Always works really well. Okay, so number 6 on my list. I have a severe fear of insects and anything that is like a bug.
Wow.
100% cannot stand, not even a little. Not even a ladybug. Freaks me out.
Really? A ladybug?
Like, you know, I'll deal with them, I guess, kind of. You know, like, obviously there's sort of varying degrees. But if something flies on me, like, even, like, maybe a fly is literally the only thing that may not bother me too much. But, like, a bee or a butterfly or a...
How about a mosquito?
I wouldn't like it, no.
Okay.
I could
But
deal
would
with
you
it.
freak out and start throwing stuff?
Probably not. I will freak
Okay.
out and throw stuff based on other things, and especially if they crawl. Like one
Spider.
thing. Yeah, spiders definitely. One thing we get a lot of is Rachel calls them the mini legs bugs.
Ugh. Talking about little silverfish?
I guess that's what they. Yeah, it must have been. Man. Saw one last night in the sink, and I sat there for 5 minutes shooting it with the water thing to try and get it going down the drain because I couldn't stand to. I was trying to touch it with a sponge, and even that was freaking me out. I just couldn't deal with it. It was crazy. And actually, I remember when I was young, there was one particular time where I thought there was like a spider in my room, and I went and moved into our living room and was laying on the floor with a sleeping bag. And that night, every time I would turn off the light, I kept hallucinating spiders on the walls.
Wow.
Like, not like many spiders. I would think I would see one, and I would stare at it in the darkness, and I would be sure that I saw it. And I'd wake up, turn the light on, tell my dad, and be like, there's a spider in there. We need to kill it. And he'd look, and he's like, dude, there's no spiders. I don't see them. I think you're just seeing things.
Just burn the house down.
Pretty much. Let's move to a new place. Sick of spiders.
Yeah, I don't do well with spiders. Matter of fact, last summer, Annie and I were driving out of the garage, and there was this, like, I mean, I say it was like a hand-sized spider. Clearly it wasn't. It's Virginia, but it was gigantic. And I said, just drive the car over it, you know? Just kill this thing. And, of course, once she starts to pull the car forward, this thing starts moving real quick towards the corner. And I know if it gets to the corner where all my gardening stuff is, it's going to disappear forever, and it will show up in our bed, you know?
Right.
So,
place.
I have flip-flops on. I take this big 6-foot leap and land on this thing, and I know I've killed it. Well, when I lift up my foot, it was like hundreds of babies. And I was like, no! Oh, man. It was awful.
Oh, that's great.
It was terrible. Now all I can think about is bugs now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see. My next one. Less creepy, hopefully. I fantasize multiple times a day, and I know this is common, but let me explain. I fantasize multiple times a day about being rich. And and you're like, you know, oh, everybody does. Everybody wants a whole bunch of money, you know?
Right.
But as much as I would like to, like, you know, pay off the house and pay off the condo and the cars or whatever, like, that would be great. But what I fantasize the most about is being able to go and say, okay, it's Saturday. I'm not working on my stuff. I'm not doing work. I want to go and we'll have a nice lunch. And then we're going to go to the children's hospital and we're going to bring like 500 PS4s. Or we're going to, you know, like a whole truckload of books and coloring books. And like, I want to be that guy. I want to be the guy in line at Walmart that just happens to overhear somebody say, oh, well, I couldn't even pay the whole mortgage this month because they cut my hours and blah, blah. And then, like, all of a sudden there's this anonymous thing where the person's house is paid for. You know what I mean?
Right.
I want to be that guy.
It's like so, it's like so, like, in tandem for the first moment of, like, what, like you said, what everybody else is thinking, and then totally goes in two different directions. So one guy's like, I want to buy 400 PS4s so I can have them. The other guy's like, I want 400 PS4s so I can give them to kids. That's great. Yeah, you know what? I honestly would not have expected something different from you. That doesn't surprise me.
Well, that's good. I'll take it as a compliment.
That's funny. And you and I, we actually talked about this next one before. Because of all the years I did martial arts, I actually am like constant in worst case scenario mode.
Yeah.
Always thinking of some kind of contingency plan. And I told you, even to the point of like, Rachel and I were walking into like a Dick's Sporting Goods one day looking for, I think, steel-toed boots when I was needing them for work. And, got to a point where I was like trying to figure out, like, I can't even remember. We were talking about it though. Like I was already thinking of like eyeing people and trying to size them up. Like, okay, what if that guy attacked us? What if this guy over here attacked us? And part of it, you're thinking like, oh, is this paranoia? But then at the same time, it's like, I'm not necessarily saying each guy will, and I'm not sitting here treating the guy like, oh, get away, because that guy's going to stab me. It's more like, what if that guy does it? What am I going to do? And that's
good.
And we both kind of talked about this because with your military experience, you kind of get trained to think about that kind of stuff, to kind of say, in this situation, just because you want to be prepared. The likelihood of something like that happening, to most people probably think fairly slim. But then if you go Google knife attacks, in the last week or something, you're going to see like, oh shit, it does happen. So, so that's kind of something that, it doesn't actually, I realized recently it doesn't happen as much, but I think that's because I've just been pretty much going to work and back and not really doing a lot of extra stuff. But,
I'll tell you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it was something that I was actually noticing for the longest time of like, man, I'm really just like untrustworthy of a lot, just really thinking the worst. And maybe it's just kind of giving into my fantasies of, trying to keep, be excited about something. But,
well, I tell you, I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, if it's not causing you any real problems, I don't think it's a bad thing. I actually teach that exact same thing just about every single week when I discuss to my students, talk about survival mindset and having situational awareness and like that. So I get it. I completely get it. And I tell you, that one thing that people can do, even if you feel like I'm in a small town where nothing bad ever happens, there's a video on YouTube made by the Department of Homeland Security called Run, Hide, Fight. It's a professional video. It's 6 minutes long. Go and watch it. And it's basically just what to do if you're in a situation where something bad is happening around you. These are your options. Awesome video. Have to watch it.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
What was it called again?
Run, Hide, Fight.
I'll have to find. Let me see real quick. I'm gonna see if I can grab that link. Just keep it up. I can show it on the feed later.
Yeah, and it's definitely it's good information for anybody. It's more based around what to do if you're inside of a scenario that involves an active shooter, but it can be for anything. It's basically telling people that if this is happening around you, run. If you can't run, find a place to hide and barricade yourself. If you don't have that option and you literally you have no other choices available to you, then you fight. You make the commitment to fight, and that's what you do. Commitment, no questions asked until the fight's done. Yeah, definitely good information.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Like something I definitely want to check out to, see what they have to say about it.
And I guess my next one is probably, or actually, is it yours? Oh no, you just talked about being paranoid.
Yes, you're right. I had just about ready. I was about to say, yeah, sure was, but go right ahead.
Well, this ties in perfectly because one of the examples that I give my students every week is how ever since we've moved to Williamsburg, I have been completely paranoid. Like out of control paranoid. It doesn't make sense. We were in Newport News in a really bad part of town where we lived when we first got married. And like even the night we moved out, there was a gunfight in front of our apartment window.
Good Lord.
Really, really dangerous spot. And anyway, we moved to Williamsburg where nothing bad ever happens. It's just a nice little cul-de-sac. Everything's good. But ever since we moved here, I've been paranoid. Well, my paranoia almost got the best of me one night because about a year ago, my wife had a nightmare in the middle of the night, and it was pitch black in the room, middle of the night, and she starts screaming at the top of her lungs like sheer bloody murder. And I'm racked out completely. And when I hear her scream like this, within that split second, I have convinced myself that there are several large men inside the room and they are ripping her out of the bed. Right? So I jump over on top of her and I start screaming no as loud as I possibly can. And it's not doing anything because she's still screaming.
Right.
Well, I can't see anything because it's pitch black. So I reach over to the nightstand and start going for my Glock.
Oh boy.
And I am seconds away from emptying that entire magazine into the darkness because it's that real.
Right.
And thankfully, as I reached for the pistol, I realized that what had happened is she just had a nightmare. Everything was fine. Turn on the light, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, that could have been really, really ugly. But it was my paranoia that is what started that whole thing.
You know, I guess it's good to be prepared like that. But yeah, it's interesting to see. Yeah, especially coming out of sleep, man. That's hard to, especially if you're jarred awake. You're instantly in like a, you know, even if you're not jarred awake, you're usually in a what's going on, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And I can only imagine. I wouldn't even know how to react. Okay, so my next one, that brings me to 8. So that means you just read your 7th?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a problem with being, and I don't know if this is necessarily a problem. Sometimes it seems like a fault, but I get really empathetic with anything as far as like film characters, video game characters, sometimes even a book. The easiest, the smallest little thing can make me cry watching a movie or playing a game or doing anything, because when I'm playing it, when I'm watching it, anything like that, I get so like, you know, put myself, I just get so into it, because that's what does it for me, is like living that story and experiencing it, and I want to know what it feels like. It's that, like I said, the easiest thing to do it, like, is just, you know, all you got to do is have a little kind of sad moment in this freaking movie, and I'm just like, oh God, and the tears, you know, like, I just, it's really easy for me. And you know what's funny is that in real life instances, like where, you know, maybe put me in a situation where I'm supposed to be the sad one, may not affect me so much, because I'm not thinking about it like, oh, look at me, like I'm should be sad about this. You know, it's like a weird, like, I almost have to be thinking about being in that other person's shoes.
Wow.
You know, to sort of get, it's like, it's weird. I can't always explain it, but that's why, you know, that a video game or a movie can be so moving to me sometimes, is because, you know, when I'm watching it, I'm trying to like get in there. I'm trying to sort of emulate that feeling, or, you know, what they say, be empathetic, you know. It's really easy for me to do that, to tap into. It's, you know, it's almost like a second nature thing by now. And that's why I get such a, you know, sort of a rush, because, you know, not only on the sad parts, it also works for all the happy parts and for all the good parts. And, you know, like,
it's an experience.
And, you know, I definitely know that it happens more so with me or people like me that do that than it does with the average person, because I get a lot of shit from people who are like, what, you cried at Scrubs? Or, you know, something stupid that's like, you know, for the record, Scrubs is one of the saddest TV shows you'll ever watch.
It's got me sometimes.
But there's a lot of times people give me crap about it, and I don't really care. You know, it's like, whatever, it's part of my experience, and it, you know, if I enjoy it to that extent, then fine. You know, I'm not going to let someone say shit to me about, you know, you enjoyed that, you know, like,
how dare you?
Yeah. So, you know, it doesn't really bother me, but, you know, it has been times where I'm like, I don't want to cry. I don't want to stop it. Quit being so sad.
There's too many people around. I can totally relate with that. I'll never forget when I was in 6th grade. I don't know what happened to do this, but there was this woman that came, and she was an actress, and she did this like monologue of Harriet Tubman and her story. And she told this story, and at one point she started crying about how she was running, and this is what was happening. And I'm sitting in the middle of all these kids, and I start sobbing. And they're like, what is wrong with you? Like, man, she's Harriet Tubman.
Right.
They did not get it at all.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting that you say actor. I mean, because you also, did you have theater experience in any way? Like, did you do something for that in college?
Not in college, but throughout school, middle school and high school, did a lot of theater. I did, yeah.
You know, and my theater experience is next to nothing. Really, aside from like studying kind of everything, and, you know, reading about film production and script writing and all that kind of stuff. And it's interesting, though. I think that, you know, that kind of is a thing that you kind of have to, not that we're necessarily actors per se, but, you know, I feel like that's something that they tap into, that, you know, is something that we might understand compared to someone who would, you know, may not understand that as an art form, or sees
absolutely.
it just as an entertainment thing. You know, it gets deeper for us because we understand it. We're like, we get it. You know, like, it's not to be elitist about it, but I wouldn't. You know, it's interesting that we both have such an interest in like the intricacies, at least of film, and you said theater. You know, because that's what they do. That's how they deliver such empowering performances. Is they sort of tap into that thing, that, you know, that superpower that allows them to become what they're doing. Really interesting.
Oh, that's a good one. I can totally relate with that.
Okay, so this one, I was trying to figure out how to word it, because it can be a little different, or a little difficult to explain at times, but. A lot of times when I'm having conversations with people, like actual conversations, not really like through text or anything like that, I kind of feel like I am a third person viewing the conversation between myself and somebody else. I don't like it's like a heightened sense of self-awareness. Like I'm always, you know, and it kind of pulls into that why I was talking about, you know, driving the cars aggressively this morning was. I am so, like, not necessarily concerned with how people perceive me, but I'm so, like, constantly thinking about what am I doing that's affecting somebody else, or what am I saying that's affecting somebody else, or, you know, what is my impact?
Yeah, what are you putting out there?
That it constantly, unless you get me talking about, let's say, music or Metal Gear Solid or something where I literally just kind of like tunnel vision and then go for it.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I'm just like, I'm almost like reviewing everything that's going on as it's being said. It's almost, sometimes it's kind of surreal because it sort of pulls me out of this, you know, I don't literally see it from like a third person perspective, astral projection experience, but it feels that way sometimes just because of, like I said, I kind of am like reevaluating what's being said, what's my body language, how did I say that, you know, constantly. I mean, I work with people who sometimes, you know, like my supervisor, he's really into video games, but sometimes he has to get back to work. So constantly I'm evaluating, you know, does he need to get back to work? Am I talking too much? Did I say, you know, occasionally I'll talk and I'll immediately just kind of trail off and do something else because I, you know, whereas some other people I specifically know at work will just continue to talk your freaking ear off, even though you're trying to get away from them.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like that's kind of where that difference is that situational awareness of what's going on as you're involved with something, and going tunnel vision. I still go tunnel vision sometimes when I talk about things I'm super interested in, but
I gotcha.
But yeah, it was. So yes, what's your next one?
All right, my next one. My plan when I was a senior in high school, my first couple of months, my plan was to go to a Bible institute and become a youth pastor. And I suddenly realized one day that if I was going to commit my life to, and this is the terminology that I was using at the time, if I was going to commit my life to spreading the word of God, it was not going to be to people that heard it every single week the same way, and it was always the same thing. I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to go out and do. So by the end of my senior year is when I was enrolled in the Marine Corps, and I decided that if I was gonna preach and spread the word of God, it was gonna be to people that didn't always get the chance to hear it and were known to be a bit of a challenge. So that's why I chose the Marine Corps, and my position was to go in there and let people know what the universe was about and what God was about, and I mean, here I am at 34 or 39, like your dad, or however old I am now. And I mean, my beliefs have changed a bit, but I remember having that feeling like I need to do something big with my life, and I decided instead of doing the whole church thing, I was going to go out into the world and follow it.
Yeah, that's really interesting, especially to think of a place like, where do I turn to first? The Marine Corps. It is really interesting. And you're, I'm trying to think of how, what you do with Karmified is really interesting to me, because you find a way to sort of not put the fault, but put the challenge in humans as saying, this is what we do. I challenge you to do it. As far as like making people sort of become the better version of themselves. You know, it's like, you know, and not to get into any kind of huge religious discussion here, but, you know, you keep it sort of on a ground human level, it seems. You'd say, you know, this is us, you know, do it this way. And, you know, this is our duty. There's a lot of people out there that are being, you know, crapheads about the way they're treating people. There's up to the good guys to come in and do the right thing.
Yeah. You get it. I really do think there's more good out there than bad. I know that the news would have you believe otherwise, but that's just my view.
Yeah, no one wants to hear about good stuff, which is, you know, that's the interesting part too, I think, about Karmified, is if you took what the news does, what traditional, I don't know if syndicate is the term, but traditional network news, mainstream news, and you compare it to what you do, the exact process is the same, except you do, like, you show the good stuff to say, look, there is good stuff, because you're getting, the news is giving you the crap. You know, I'm not going to do that. You've already got plenty of that. I'm also going to show you that, you know, it's just as easy to find good things. So why focus on the bad, you know, because, oh, there's so much of it. There's plenty of good, you know, and so it's interesting because it's, you know, I think you do that really well. And I think it's sometimes hard to do because there is so much negative in our media to show, because it makes, you know, it's interesting. People want to see that. People want to see, you know, that's why reality television is funny, not because everyone's getting along.
Right. You know? Yeah, you're right.
You know, but whatever. It's kudos to you for not being an ass like news stations.
Thanks.
Okay, so my last one here, it kind of dips into, you know, we were trying to talk about the qualifications of our, you know, the things that we're revealing here and whether or not they'd be too deep or not. And this, I wouldn't necessarily say this one's deep. It has the potential to be dark, but I don't look at it in a dark way. I actually have really bad depression. Like, in a sense of like what depression actually is, I am like, technically, I'm like constantly depressed. Really? Because it literally, like, you know, depression is the lack of, it's a bunch of different chemicals, but one of them is dopamine, and the ability for your brain to produce the right amount of dopamine that a quote-unquote normal brain, or someone who doesn't have depression, would produce. It basically means, you know, we talked about like the insulin resistance. It basically means that when good things happen, or, you know, things that might spike that feel-good feeling in normal people, I hate to use the word normal people because it's, you know, it's not like I'm abnormal, but it just takes a little more for me, which is why I might game a little longer than most people, or why I might, you know, watch more movies. You know, it's why I sort of engage in some of these things a little bit more, because I require more of that stimulation in order to get there. But I didn't want to focus on that fact too much. I wanted to focus on the idea that that is the reason why it is so difficult for me to actually want to, like, get out and hang with people sometimes. A lot of people look at it and are like, man, he must just want to sit home and play video games because he's, you know, such a freaking nerd. What a nerd. Yeah. And part of it's that, because I am a huge nerd. But, you know, I saw a psychologist a couple years ago for ADHD, and we talked about, you know, yeah, sure, you have ADHD, but she goes, you also have depression. It runs in your family. You know, this is why your ADHD and your depression and blah, 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 it kind of all goes hand in hand. And, you know, she explained it to me like that. That's why, you know, like when people ask me to do stuff, and there's very few people that I actually feel quote unquote taxed by. You know, Rachel's one of them. Can be around Rachel 24/7, all hours of the day. Doesn't matter. Love it. Yeah. Love being around her. I don't, you know, I want to be around her. There are other people I work with, good friends, that if they were to ask me if I wanted to do something after work, I'd probably decline, because it feels like it takes so much energy for me to do something like that. Oh, like, man. It's, you know, and it's, you know, it's, I don't know, it's hard to explain, because it sounds like something that's like, you know, so people get it and they're like, it's fun. It's, you know, we want to go out and do something, go out with us to dinner, go out with us to watch this movie and stuff like that. And 9 times out of 10, it feels like work for me. It feels like I have to put on a show, put on a face, and try to get along with people. Otherwise, I'm just going to go out and be a buzzkill for everybody. So why not just kind of chill in, make myself happy by playing a game or watching a movie, let them be happy by not having Debbie Downer with them tonight, you know? Like, But no, I did want to touch on that, and like I said, I don't really see it as a dark thing. It's because it's it's whatever, you deal with it. Because I don't, a lot of people see depression as, oh, he must be sitting back there wanting to cut his wrists all the time, and sure, that's depression can lead maybe to stuff like that. But the actual part of depression is it's sort of that lack of ability to be stimulated for like that. So that's why sometimes social events don't exactly get to me, because it feels like so much, it feels like I'm putting on a presentation. And obviously I'm not always like that. Otherwise, I love doing the podcast. I'd sit up here and talk for hours if I could. But
I think we have been.
Right. That was one of the ones I had picked from earlier this week, but I kind of wanted to keep it because it is sort of an important one as far as like things that people don't know. As they think like, oh, you're not depressed, I see you laugh. Well, depression doesn't mean that you can't laugh or that you can't have fun, or it's sort of this much deeper thing that it just means you're not stimulated as much by that particular thing. There are obviously varying degrees, but for people that always if they're listening in and they're like, why doesn't Jake ever want to go out? That's kind of it's like something that I deal with. I kind of I might want to go out. I just sometimes it's so much it's like that, you just get that natural overwhelming feeling of I can't do it.
I'm with you, bro. I think it's fascinating that you're talking about this because just recently, in the past couple of months, I was going through a similar thing, and I had entertained the idea that I was depressed because I felt the exact same way about social situations. And I think, you would know your situation better than I do, obviously, but I thought I was depressed because I could relate to that. But what I'm finding out more about myself is that I'm just plain an introvert,
right?
Period. And I don't know if we talked about that in the last couple of weeks, but that's it. Me, like, I feel like I'm putting on a show, and it's a lot of work, and it's exhausting, and then I just want to go and just kind of turn off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
so I get it.
Those things definitely go hand in hand. It's obviously. I generally would consider myself an introvert as well, which is why I don't think, that the claim that he's a big fat nerd, I don't think that's totally warranted, because I am, so it's like unfortunately, it kind of comes hand in hand with some of my other things, which is why it's so aggravating to have to, sort of entertain people at times. But it's like I said, I don't see it as a dark thing either. And that took a real sort of a dark turn, but I don't see it as like, it's more of like here's a little tidbit. This is why, this is why that sometimes it can be an issue with me, because it's literally a chemical. That isn't being, dealt with as properly as it normally should be.
Well, I think that's a great one. That's a really good one, because it's going to hit on my final point. And my last bullet, it also involves my wife. My wife and I separated after a very difficult first few years of marriage, and we had every intention of divorcing. She moved out and lived with her brother, and I'll never forget, like, the night that she moved out, as much as we, quote unquote, hated each other, and, we went to a marriage counselor a couple times and all that stuff, as much as difficult as that was for us, she moved out that night. I don't know how many phone calls I made and got voicemails. I just needed to talk to somebody, and I'll never forget leaving these voicemails on people's phones telling them that Annie and I were getting a divorce, and sobbing and crying. And a couple weeks went by. I was living in the condo by myself and still going to work and everything. And a couple weeks went by, and then all of a sudden, just sitting there on the couch one day, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And all of a sudden, I saw myself through her eyes. Mm-hmm. And I was like it took my breath away. And all these things that I didn't see, and I was, putting the blame on her, and this is why it didn't work out. It was an eye-opener. And I remember calling her and saying, I need you to come over. I want to talk to you. And she came over, and we fought, and I tried telling her exactly what I knew, what the deal was. And finally, she decided to get another chance. And we tried again, and we were able to learn from our mistakes. It wasn't easy, but here we are celebrating our 11-year anniversary in July. And we've never
That's
looked
impressive.
back.
Nice work, by the way.
You know, thank you. But it was a really hard time. But the whole point of everything that we talk about, like some of them are fun. I haven't had cable TV, or or depression, or divorce, or shooting into the darkness, or wanting to take out this guy that could stab me. I think it's fascinating that how much you can learn from somebody just from taking out a few minutes and asking them something like, "Hey, tell me about yourself." See what comes out. And obviously, you're not going to say, "Oh, well, hi, my name's Jake, and I'm depressed. I'm an introvert." But learning about each other, it kind of shows you that we're all going through something on some level. We're all dealing with something, whether that's good, bad, and different. We're all dealing with something. And doing things like this, I think, are great because it provides a level of introspection that you may not normally do. I think you're kind of the same way that I am. I'm always evaluating myself and always figuring out what I need to do to be better. So I think with everything that we talked about today, with things that you said, things that I said, sometimes you just have to get things out in the open. It helps you to deal with them. And then if you need to, you seek help from somebody, or you, depending on your goals and your dreams, you find the right key players that you can surround yourself with to make sure that you're on the right track. And I think all these things are really, really important. And if people aren't doing these kinds of things with their friends or with their family, I think they absolutely should be done.
Yeah, I will say, it's when you first told me to think of 10 things, I mean, I think I messaged you like immediately afterwards, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like,
what?
Yeah, like that's just going to be difficult, and I could, it's one of those things too that you kind of, some of these things are things that you don't think about because you kind of get used to them, and when you bring them back to the surface, at least to kind of take a look at it, either talking about depression or the anything, the fact that, I think about, these escape situations all the time. It's, you kind of reevaluate and, kind of, get to take another look at some, the way that your life has been affected from these and how they affect the people around you, like you said, with kind of, taking a different look than just, the tunnel vision, straightforward, only myself type of thing. And you learn a lot, even if it's as much as, Ross not having cable for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Really interesting. I was kind of stoked about this particular segment for this week. That was a good one.
Cool.
So thank you for that. Wow. I think we're almost at like 2 hours and 10 minutes. Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing though. Sometimes the show goes a little long.
I think it was for good reason. I think that worked.
No, I do too. And I knew. You told me earlier this week about the 10 reasons, and this first thing I thought of was like, "Oh, it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a long Karmified segment." But no, that's not a bad thing. So I was going to try to do this anyways, even if we had a long show. I was going to try and get faster through our little end of the show bit. I kind of drag on it a little long sometimes. So here is how we're going to do it. If you want to help out the show, tell your friends about it. Share all of our posts on Facebook or Twitter, or maybe even share a couple of them. Whatever ones you feel like sharing. Get people to sort of listen in and do that kind of stuff. If you want to sponsor, like we did today with a couple of our stuff, or like I did with that other show that I played, the clip earlier, we've got a link for that on our website. Go there, pay us $5. We'll sponsor you we'll sponsor your stuff on the show. If you want to go to our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/streamthemachine, you can help out. Shout out to Sharon Mercer, who's actually my aunt. She joined the crew today, so now I've got my mother and my father and my aunt.
All right.
Unfortunately, only family at the moment. So our first person that's not family to help support the show, maybe we'll give you a special announcement or something.
That could be you.
Yes. Maybe we'll even have you come on the show. You can come talk for about 5 minutes or something. Who knows?
Nice.
So yeah, head on over there, the Patreon page, help out in any way you can. If we get to $100, we're at $10 right now. If we get to $100, this will be a video podcast.
Ooh.
We will, and you're thinking, well, Jake, that's, how's that going to be all that interesting? I guarantee you, right now, it's just a big fat logo sitting on that Twitch page. It will be more interesting because you're not seeing, I do a lot of gestures. You get to see me swimming over here in my chair doing all these different,
swimming,
because it's what it looks like at times. And all that kind of stuff. So there's that. You can email in your music. If you have music or anything like that, send it into the show. We love to play that kind of stuff. This is still taking a long time. I'm terrible at this outro. You can follow me at RedefineJack on Twitter. I don't say much, so it's not worth it. Ross, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter as well at RealRossBays, but I'm just like Jay. I don't sell much at all.
Okay, so just do that. Maybe we'll retweet the show's tweets on occasion, but you could just follow at STM Podcast for all the same information. We're at streamthemachine.com. I want to thank everybody for helping out this week. Ross, thank you for filling in for Tony. Tony will be back next week. So, and then we'll also still have Ross, but he just won't be on for the whole show, unfortunately. Thank you to Jessica Wilson for helping out with our health segment. Gave us a lot of good information, a lot more than I could have ever really found myself. She knows what to look for, so thank you to her for that. Thank Dirt Wizard for allowing us to be able to play their music, and then also coming up here, Moros Nix for allowing us to play their music on the show. They're going to be the outgoing song. Come back next week, Saturday, same time, 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central for episode 7. I'm trying to think if I want to do anything special for episode 10 or not. Not anything crazy, but, maybe some kind of, I don't even know what I'd give away, but, maybe having people call into the show that have, been listening since episode 1 or episode 2 or whatever, there you go. Get people, I don't know. Something special, though. We'll figure it out. Okay, so this song is another local Peoria/Illinois band. Their name is Moros Nix. They also recently, I believe, just had an EP come out. Is one of the two bands, I'm a terrible host. Is one of the two bands I announced today had a recent album come out. This one is called Rite of Rebellion. That's the name of the album. The song is, actually I picked a different one. It's not Child of the Dream. It is called With Doom We Come. This is definitely going to be more of your sort of 80s Aussie metal type of. The first one had sort of a modern twist to it. This one's definitely got more of a retro feel to it. So here's this. We are going to be back next week. Once again, Ross, thank you very much for helping out, and sorry everybody for our super long show today. Hope you enjoyed it. We will see you guys next week.
Later.
And referring to wiener poopy? My gosh.
Put like some of your ham in here.
I love that clip so much.